Support for Donnybrook Last Call is provided in part by Design Air Heating and Cooling.
Hey, welcome back. You know, when we first started doing Last Call, my mom found it immediately. So thank you for being out there, Mom, and all of the people tuned in on YouTube. Okay, Wendy, establishment called the Sports Bra is going to open, and they claim they're only going to show women's sports. All right. I just don't see this having a long shelf life. I'm not being chauvinistic. I'm just making a little judgment here. That's all. Caitlin Clark doesn't play every game. So, you know.
But the numbers for the WNBA, you can't dispute them. I mean, it is in terms of popularity. I think that this is it is an interesting name. It's probably not the name I would have gone with, but I don't have the money behind the, so it's not my call. But I think I really think it's going to be a big success. I think that it's an untapped market. I think that there are certainly a lot of people who like to gather together to root on their teams. So I am encouraged, and I really wish them all the best.
Well, I can see young men thinking this is the place to go to meet women.
Yep.
Because that's the main reason, one of the main reasons young men go to bars.
There you go.
So if you think that there's going to be some women there.
And the one in Portland is very successful. The reason that they are now opening franchises in 4 different cities across the U.S. is that this thing was a juggernaut. Like, people loved to go there, and it was super buzzy. And, I don't know. I have a couple daughters that are really into sports, and I think how great that somebody can make this concept work, even if it only works in Portland. I love that someone is trying. Because when I was a kid, women's sports were never on TV. It wasn't even an option that you could be the
It was a
Caitlin Clark
It was a punchline.
It was.
It was a punchline.
It was.
But I think for this to be successful, like, St. Louis is going to have to get a WNBA team, because doesn't Portland have a WNBA team?
And they have a professional women's soccer team.
Yeah,
as well.
and I think isn't Jason Tatum trying to get a WNBA team?
Unfortunately, we were not. That was not
selected.
successful.
Not
But
this go-round.
there is a women's basketball team that is playing here and finding some luck, and we also have the SLU women's basketball team. I love going to their games. I would watch that from a bar.
That's right.
All right, so as we head in more of Last Call, I hate dogs and I hate women. Golly, I'm having a bad night.
And you love the gig economy.
I love the gig economy. I hope I can keep my gig here after tonight.
You're getting your revenge.
I am, Jason.
Okay, one of the most popular artists in America and the world right now is Kendrick Lamar, and he spent the night in St. Louis. He was at the Dome, and our own of the 5 people sitting here right now, Jason was the one that was at the concert. You want to give us a quick review?
Yeah. I am a Kendrick Lamar fan. I was sort of late in getting into him, but I got Good Kid, Mad City, and was just mesmerized by the narrative and also just how good some of the songs were. I think it is a real boon for St. Louis that we got this concert. We didn't get Taylor Swift, which I think is a blessing in disguise because she's overrated. I know.
Oh, wow.
Oh, boy. Okay, you took me off the spot. Thank you.
But Kendrick Lamar is probably the most popular musician in the world right now because he basically decimated Drake of Degrassi, The Next Generation fame, in one of the best rap battles of the last century or so. It was amazing seeing how many people went into this dome, which is usually not filled with a lot of things. The sound system, I think, may need a little bit of improvement. Maybe we could use $100 million of the Rams money to make sure that it's a little bit up to snuff. But this was really big for St. Louis, and it was also it was a racially diverse crowd, too. You saw a lot of white people, a lot of black people, a lot of Latino people there. I think Kendrick Lamar's and also SZA. We didn't even mention the fact that SZA
St.
was
Louis's
there too,
own.
who was from St. Louis.
Louis.
She was incredible. She is an incredible singer. Her earpiece was actually malfunctioning, so she couldn't hear herself, but she was still singing really well. We should be really proud that we were one of the stops on this tour.
So I'm going to just cut right in here. I don't feel really proud that we were one of the stops on this tour. I feel like, these people are just going to go where there's the money. It's great they came here. I don't see this as big for St. Louis. I don't see it as bad or small for St. Louis. it does kind of answer a question that we talked about last week, which is what is even the point of having the Dome? There are certain artists who only want to play venues of this size. And if we did not continue to maintain this, what I like to call albatross, we wouldn't have gotten this concert. So it does kind of cut against some of us who are skeptical on spending more money for this thing. You do want to get the big concert.
But I will say, again, I hadn't been in the Dome since I went to one of the last Rams games, and it was not a great stadium then. It's probably worse now because there just hasn't been a lot of work done. I know they're real. In all seriousness, there is Rams money that is going to probably help the Dome from the Rams settlement. But I think if we're going to get more events like this in the future, we have to invest in this, or we need to, like what you said, Sarah, tear it down and put something better there. But I don't know if it will be the size, and to have a facility of that size would cost like probably $3 to $4 billion, which I don't really think is going to be a priority right now.
I disagree with you. I'm hurt when the big concerts don't come here. I feel like that's like a testament that we aren't the city that we used to be.
Well, we're not.
And I know we're not, but I do. There's a lot of acts that don't come here, and then I think to myself, like, man, they're playing Kansas City, they're playing this place and that place, some places that are extremely smaller than we are.
Right.
And that does kind of, that does bother me. Well, the Dome won't be filled on Sunday. Our Battlehawks are playing for the conference championship and the right to go to the UFL Championship game on the Saturday before Father's Day, I guess, which would be the 14th, which is also in St. Louis because we draw so many fans that we were awarded the championship game. Is anybody here fired up about the Battlehawks and the big game on Sunday? I take that as a no.
I do think that this is something that is great for St. Louis. I think having this football team, I have some friends that are huge fans. I'm just not a football person, but it is apparently a great experience. I was talking to one of their vice presidents. They are working really hard on also making it a really good family-friendly experience, and their tickets are so reasonably priced compared to all the gouging that's going on in other sports. I really love what these guys are doing. I am rooting for them. I will just be doing it from the comfort of my own home.
My understanding is, I think that the lease is more favorable than the Rams lease was, because I don't think the Dome or the Convention Center or the city was getting a lot of money from that. Now, granted, there's not 60,000 people going to Battlehawks games, but it is one of by far the most popular team of the
For sure.
league.
They've got 15,000 season ticket holders.
And it's nice to have these games that are less than the NFL. I mean, like the SLU basketball or SLU women's soccer, the Battlehawks. You can be a fan and go to these games, and I think it's all good. And I hope the Battlehawks, win the championship.
I watched a documentary on about 25, 30 minutes of a documentary about Vince McMahon.
Oh.
I try to watch
on Netflix?
documentaries about things that I would otherwise not be interested in, just to expand the horizon, and to see the numbers of people who show up for this kind of stuff is just, it's like a different, it's like a different world. We all know that there's like a world within a world out there in the U.S., but as long as people are, I'm with you, Sarah, as long as people are having fun, in St. Louis and getting behind something, then I'm all for their success.
And there is actual tailgating, all right?
Yeah.
And there is a buzz around the stadium outside of it when they play. I think that's a good thing.
That's good.
They made them play a lot, like 2 or 3 Friday night games. I thought that was a mistake by the league itself. But here's my concern. 29,000 average for St. Louis leads the league by far. You've got Memphis drawn, like their average was like 6,000 people.
Yeah.
Boy, I just don't know.
I don't think this league is going to make it.
All right.
Long-term.
And
Never know.
I will throw this out here. I got a friend named Chris. He said it to me. St. Louis should try to become part of the Canadian Football League when this league goes down and be the United States representative in the Canadian Football League. And I said, Chris, that actually makes some sense.
Yeah.
Would you like the expos of Canadian
Yeah,
football?
exactly.
Yeah, I love
that.
that.
That would be exactly
That is
it.
actually.
Well, what happens when Canada becomes a 51st state? When
That's
the
right.
president comes
That's
in.
right.
and
Greenland.
I think we got a greater chance of the Battlehawks playing in the NFL than Canada becoming the 51st state. I also say this. I was getting a carryout in West County, not Chesterfield, but anyway, in West County. And I overheard them saying that they have to ramp up staff when the Battlehawks play.
Oh.
And I had no idea that this was actually leaving the downtown area and that people were going specifically to bars to see a Battlehawks game.
That's
so, like I said,
awesome.
it's not the Rams, but and if it's just us, make kids scoff, but hey, people are enjoying it. But we're not scoffing at you. Thank you for joining us on Last Call. We'll see you on Donnybrook next week. Thank you so much.